The 23rd Psalm is one that's familiar to most people, if for no other reason because of its frequent use at funerals. And it's pretty amazing when you think about it that these words, possibly 3,000 years old, would continue to have the impact on us that they do today. But that hasn't kept people from trying to modernize and update it. Take, for example, a programmer's Psalm 23. The Lord is my programmer, I shall not crash. He installed his software on the hard disk of my heart. All of his commands are user-friendly. And there's an architect's Psalm 23. The Lord is my architect. I shall not be misproportioned. He makes me enclose beautiful spaces. Let's not forget Psalm 23 for the workplace, which describes the Lord as my real boss. And closing with the words, his faithfulness and love are better than any bonus check. His retirement plan beats every 401k there is. When it's all said and done, I'll be working for him a whole lot longer, and for that I bless his name. Christian author Max Lucado has even gotten in on the game with his own tongue-in-cheek version called Psalm 23 for Modern Day Life. I am my own shepherd. I am always in need. I stumble from mall to mall and shrink to shrink, seeking relief but never finding it. Still, most people seem to return to the poetry of the King James Version when they are looking for comfort. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. But we do want, don't we? We all want something. We want to win the lottery so we can at long last experience financial security. We want personal security, learning at an early age not to trust strangers and later on in life to carry a gun to protect us from those strangers. Fitness centers, the vitamin industry, and the exorbitant salary of doctors all exist because we want good health and love. We want someone to share our joys with us, be with us in our despair, and grow old with us in our golden years. None of these things are bad things to want. Financial and personal security, good health, and loving relationships are honorable things to which we may aspire, even if there are other things we may want that aren't nearly as honorable, such as success at any cost, vengeance on our enemies, or an extreme need for attention. God may be our shepherd, but for better or worse, we still want. The lesbian, gay man, bisexual, or transgender person wants to know that God cares about them, but many churches have denied that to us, claiming that who and how we love is sinful. We want a relationship with family members whose backs have been turned on us because we have chosen to live our lives authentically. Yes, we queer people want. We want affirmation, acceptance, and a loving relationship with our Creator. And in our psalm, God invites us to rise above that want by leading us to green meadows and restful waters. We aren't doomed to live out our lives in want, but instead God leads us to a place where our souls can be refreshed. For many people, that place is an MCC church. It's here that they come to know rest and refreshment. It's here that they are spiritually fed, and it's here that their broken spirits are nurtured back into wholeness. But it takes trust. And trust isn't something we LGBT folk are very good at. And so we continue in our state of want. We want freedom from oppression. The LGBTQ student wants their classmates to stop bullying them. The trans person wants to go into a public restroom without fear for their life. The queer community wants a life free from discriminatory laws which encourage violence upon us. These are the shadows of death that surround us, and these are our dark valleys through which we walk. But the key word here is through. The psalm assures us that we will make it through these places in our lives because God is with us. We will rise up as God's resurrection people again and again. God's rod and staff are not used to afflict us and beat us down, but to guide us when we don't know where to place our foot next. But it takes trust. And trust isn't something we LGBT people are very good at. We members of the queer community want to walk up to God's banquet table of love and know there's a place that has been reserved for us. But all too often, we are told there is no place for our kind within God's realm. All too often, we are turned away as if we were nothing more than second-class citizens. But we're not. According to this morning's psalm, in fact, we are quite the contrary. The psalm says, our heads are anointed with oil, which was part of a coronation ceremony. The prophet Samuel symbolically proclaimed Saul as king of Israel by taking a flask of oil and pouring it on Saul's head. And in this morning's psalm, we are also anointed by God as members of God's royal family, regardless of what others may say. And as God's family members, we are shown to the table, a table which is spread out for everyone to see, even our enemies, that yes, we have a place at God's banquet table of love. But it takes trust to walk up to that table, confident that we won't be turned away. And trust isn't something we LGBT people are very good at. So then how do we trust when we have been hurt so many times in the past? How do we step out in faith when our faith has been misplaced and our innocence lost? I wish I could tell you. I wish I could give you a set of instructions on how to regain our trust in God and in others. But you see, we all come to the table in different degrees of brokenness. Some of us have managed pretty well over the years, while others are bruised and battered and barely able to crawl up to God's throne of grace. Maybe it would help to read this psalm aloud every day as a sort of affirmation. They say that our heart follows our spoken words, not the other way around. If we looked in the mirror each morning and said, God, you are my shepherd, and I want nothing more, our day might go differently. Or maybe we need to become more deeply involved with people who have learned to trust God, even when life is full of shadows. If we see how it works in their lives, maybe we can learn how to trust God in our own. Or maybe we need to shift our focus from our own shadow-filled lives to the lives of others. Maybe we need to work on creating a space in which others can trust. And that means arriving at church early enough to welcome the newcomer who has gathered up all the courage they can muster in order to walk through these doors. Now, I know a lot of people weren't able to make it here today either because of the weather or were late because of the weather. But there are those other days. In our gospel reading, Jesus said, "My sheep hear my voice." How are the sheep going to hear the voice of Jesus if not through us? Christ is what fastens us together, and we are called by the prophets to seek and nurture the sheep that have been denied protection and a place at the table. Maybe we need to understand that when Jesus said, "You are the light of the world," he meant it. We are the light which draws others to God, and we are the voice which calls out to other sheep just like ourselves. And as we experience God working through us in the lives of other people, without even realizing it, we may learn to trust. This is a hard one. Trusting in providence is hard to do when you're surrounded by a shadowy, frightening world. So we just do the best we can and hope or trust that it will get better. Jesus rose from a shadowy grave on the third day. As people of the resurrection, we follow his example when we rise from the life filled with want and live into one of trust. May God bless your rising and living. Amen.